What is going on, X community? Exostomp here, and today, people, we're going to be doing the PRs for the Lairon division. This is obviously right after the draft, and joining me this time around is going to be Board,
What's up?
Chris Reed,
What's good?
and Marshy.
Yo, what is poppin'?
And yeah, we might as well just jump right into it. So for 12th, we have PG Butters and the Houston Toros. And we all kind of are on the same page here. Everyone's either 10th through 12th. But yeah, who wants to start here?
Where to start? I think like this team is definitely like on the bulkier end, and it still has just some like really like horrendous weaknesses. Just like between rocks and water. I mean, like I appreciate the sand core. Like I like the idea of Gigalith, Cradilian, Rhyperior, but I think in practice it's gonna struggle a lot. And then just like losing out on good momentum options is gonna be kind of tough. Like Omolga's not bad, but it's definitely very frail. So I think that the team would benefit from maybe looking at the type chart and thinking about what some better weakness covering options would be, and maybe looking at some speed tiers and just trying to redistribute them in a way that would be a little bit more balanced, since this team is definitely on the more defensive side. But yeah, there's definitely a lot that could be improved.
Alright, so I think Gator and Celebi definitely carry this team. They go very, very well together. Celebi breaks down the waters, the grasses, for Gator, and Gator does Gator things. Gator can win very, very easily on this team. I just think water types in general are going to be a very big issue since Celebi has to take them on by itself pretty much. I guess Cradley's there, but I don't think Cradley's going to see too many games. I don't know. I'm very biased. I like a lot of the Mons on this team. I love Almamola. I think Almamola is a very good Mon. And I like Rhyperior a lot as well. I don't know. I don't think this team is the worst, but I think it is definitely very bad.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So usually when you pick up an offensive water such as for Alligator, you want to save points for your bulky water, and since Aloe is so expensive, it didn't leave enough room for Mons below the top 3 to be like scary. Like as you can see, I mean Rhyperior's good. And then 3 rock types is like, what's going on here? Wait, and then you have Amaga being the only defogger, obviously. I mean, I don't know. I also don't know why Hitmonchan isn't a rapid spinner here, but that is my fault, I guess. Make believe that it exists in that spot, but yeah. All in all, I think that the team can be better. I just feel like Aloe isn't right for this team because you use up way too many points. Like I think dropping Aloe for less expensive bulky water, and then like Cradley and Gigalith, and then just switching up those points, making this team a lot better, I think could make this team way better. Like way better.
I'm not even gonna lie. I don't even think Aloe's the problem. I think the fact that he spent so many points on the bottom 4, which are never going to see games or never going to be good in games, is just awful for the team. Gigalith and Cradley as well just are not great Mons. He dropped a lot of points into some weird idea that he had somehow that nobody understands. And I do not have any confidence that it's going to do him well at all. I'm also just now noticing the speed. His fastest mon is an Emolga. Also terrible.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he wasted a lot of points on his bottom half of the team. I don't think Alo's that bad.
Mhm.
Um, he could have definitely just picked up 9 mons and like put like 2 1-pointers on it and had like uh, 8 usable mons.
No, that's definitely fair. I definitely agree with the bottom four. Like, I mean, Hitmonchan is good for like a low hazard remover, like a reliable one. Malamar and Frostless, or sorry, Malamar and Frost Moth, they always seem so tempting, and they're just not worth the point value. Like usually, and then I mean, three rock types. It's just I understand what you were going for, like sandstream, buffing them up and stuff, but like you don't need Cradily. That's just so random. I don't know. There's like 5 mons here that could be swapped out. So yeah.
In my doc, I included a calc that from like a choice specs modest Decidueye, Leaf Storm is still it has a 56% chance to KO a solid rock AV Spidef invested Rhyperior in sand. So if your hope was to give it the the Spidef boost, I just don't think it's gonna really take advantage of that in the way that you think it will. Um, so definitely maybe a misguided team building strategy. Um, that's really all.
Just a question, are we past 10 minutes yet? Because
Nope. We're
there
good.
are some stuff yet. Alright, so my guy, I like that you have. There is some Stormbreakers for Alligator, Selby, but your first 3 months, or apart from Selby, do not really want grass to hit them. And when you got that free rock core as well, it's just not necessary at all. I would recommend for you to look at the 3 of them and see which one you want to keep the most. Because that sound strategy is never going to work, my guy. Just drop the idea. Keep one of these mons, maybe Rhyperior. That's what I'd recommend. Get rid of Cradily, Gigalith, and get Pokemons that fit roles better suited for your team.
All right. Let's go on to the next team, rank 11th. We have Dolan's team and the Slateport Scissors. Quick thing, I do want to say this looks extremely similar to Flintloose team from last season with like the Manaphy Crobat Steelix, and then it changes up a lot. Like it started off really good, and then it fell off a cliff. In my opinion.
It's almost like he looked at your team to take inspiration and then just did his own thing. I like the Corbin, like the 3 first Pokemon. Really, really strong, but I found it falls off from there. You have 2 bug types, Twacky. Like, alright, cool ground coverage, I guess. You got Levitate and shit, and the grassy terrain. But still, drafting those mons make you fairly weak to fire. Like Steelix, Twacky, Axelgore, Doublade, Vikavolt. Everything just takes a massive amount of hit, fire, and I guess Manaphy is kind of counters that, but it's at a certain point where it's not really as reliable, and then Fionius feels really, really random to me.
Yeah, I had actually joked with Edolan, like, because he had posted when he picked Manaphy, he had actually posted a GIF of Fion,
Oh yeah.
and I kind of joked with him like, hey, like Fion's kind of a goated low point pick, He was like, well, I already have Manaphy, so I don't really need it. And I was like, yeah, but it's still to put in work, and I think he took me a little too seriously. The other big gripe I have with the team is like, whatever notion or idea or thought told you to draft Steelix and Doublade on the same team is horribly misguided and confused. They don't add any, like, they don't cover each other's defensive weaknesses. They kind of take on the same role. Like, the only thing Doublade adds that Steelix doesn't add is a spin blocker. And I guess Steelix is a ground type, but I think there are just so many better ground types out there. I think that changing one of them to fit the roles that they cover and just getting rid of the steel type would definitely help a lot. Um, it makes the team kind of fire weak. I mean, yeah, Manaphy is there, but it's you don't want it to be your only counter. Um, so yeah, some of the picks I think are just kind of peculiar. I think it has the potential to do well though. Like it's not my favorite.
He just has a lot of really mid picks. I think the team just really falls off after Steelix. I mean, Scrafty's good. Thwacky can be okay. Vikable can be okay, but I don't see what the other 5 Mons are really doing for this team, or 4 Mons are doing for this team. Um, he could definitely do a lot better with the mid tier picks. He could have spent. What I would have done is just spend a little bit less budget on getting a ton of mid tier picks instead. Get like another high tier pick or 2 high tier picks because you only need 9 Mons. So I don't see the point of having 3. No, I'm not even gonna say 3 decent Mons. I'm gonna say 2 decent Mons. A defensive check that's gonna have to come to every game, and then a plethora of really mid Mons that are not gonna excel in anything.
Mm-hmm. I think the other thing is like Scrafty is really gonna struggle to actually like set up without having any good like other physical breakers. Like it's either gonna be forced to run like Choice Band or even Choice Scarf to really like get any kills. Like I think like without something to kind of soften Mons up for Scrafty and to get that Dragon Dance off, I think it's gonna maybe struggle in that regards too. Like I think that he could have maybe not picked up Pickable or Magmortar and picked something that was a little bit more physically oriented, just kind of help soften up those defensive checks, because Scraft is going to have a hard time going off if there's this if they are able to keep the defensive check in the back for it when it comes out. I mean, it's definitely a mon that with some good RNG can set up in front of those defensive counters, but I wouldn't try to take that gamble, hoping that you get all those shed skins off.
Yeah, yeah. How do we all feel about the physical attackers on this team, though?
Where?
That's what I'm
I
saying.
don't know. Crobat is probably his best physical breaker, which means it can almost never be a defensive role here. You're gonna have to run like Band Bat or like I don't even know, like Nasty Bat to be able to break things down so that Manaphy or Scrafty can try to win end games. Be like Banded Thwacky, Specs Vikavolt.
Yep.
You have to pull like some really weird sets out that are not going to be amazing on paper, at least. I don't know. He can definitely make it work. It's just going to be a struggle to enable those Mons.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing though, if he runs physical Crobat or like a physical breaker, his only sort of hazard removal is gone. Because Crobat is the only one, and it has defog. If it wants to run Choice Band or something, you have no way to control hazards from the enemy team.
I mean, Manaphy and Scrafty aren't really hazard weak, and with all the hazard span they have, I can see the argument of not really needing defog, but I think still having like a spinner would have been nice too. You could have like Theon is just a waste. As funny as it is, you could have just gotten the 2-pointer spinner that's on the board. Really anything, and then maybe that would help like free up some Crobat's defensive utility as well.
You could also upgrade a Selgor to something that's better, like Selgor and Fion for an 11-point physical attacker, like Strong Mon. I mean, there's Ambipom in there, Hitmonlee's technically in there, but I don't know. There's other options. There's also a lot of in 10 points that could be an option. I just think, yeah, a lot of this team is missing a lot of the main things that make a team. But yeah, we already talked about that. All right, let's move on. Yeah, basically. The next team is going to be ranked 10th, obviously. Is going to be Phoenix's team, the Toronto Typhlosions. So this one is definitely, some people were around 6th, some people were around the 10th and 12th mark. So very split. I kind of understand why you guys put it so low, but Marsh, you put it 12th. Can you explain why?
Yeah, I think a lot of these mons just suck, just outright. Fortress sucks, Entei sucks, Mantine sucks, Cladle sucks. Hakamo is not a Pokemon. Torcat is not a Pokemon. He has some redeeming things about it. He has like Electros, Autono, and Comfy, which are all decent. He has okay support for the mons, I guess. I don't know. I think steel types are going to be a very big issue. Entei is like the main thing that has to deal with it. I think Mantine just sucks. Comfy never wants to really run like aromatherapy in low tier, and Autono finds it very hard to fit it. So I think if Mantine just gets toxic, you're very screwed versus any type of steel type, because your main offensive like sweepers like Venusaur. I'm assuming he drafted Venusaur for like an offensive sweeper, like manual Sunny Day, I guess. And then Comfy is like the biggest setup threat on his team. Sneasel as well, I suppose. All just struggle against steel types. So
Yeah.
Entei really has to carry. He really has to just get it in as much as he can. And he doesn't really have the best tools to do that.
I think like Entei and Sneasel as breakers like don't synergize well together, or as well as they could be. Like I appreciate the Electros and the Venusaur picks to kind of help break the bulky waters, but without the power of choice band on those two mons, they're not hitting as hard as you probably think they will. And since the team, I mean, those two being Rock's weak isn't ideal. I mean, yes, he has removal up the wazoo, but you're taking up that slot on those mons, and it's taking away a turn that the opponent is getting another attack in on you. So I just think that if any team can force rocks or keep rocks up, this team is really going to struggle in terms of staying around. And yeah, there are some picks that are questionable and don't really add any value to the team, like Hakamo and Torcat. Like you could have just put those two together and maybe upgraded Sneasel or got rid of one of Claydol and Fortress as well, and just get maybe a better breaker, something that's not as rocks weak. But yeah, there is definitely potential. There's going to be some trades that need to happen in order for this team to really be successful. It has the workings of being a good team. There's some rules that are stepping on toes, and some of these mons are really questionable, as in they're non-mons.
Well, I think you guys kind of hit everything that I was going to mention, so I have nothing to add. But yeah, honestly, like, being Rock Week is really scary in a format where there's a lot of heavy hitting rock types. The ones that come to mind is like Aerodactyl, Rhyperior, Archeops. But yeah, there's a lot of heavy hitting rock types, and especially because I just mentioned Aerodactyl and Archeops, this team's also weak to flying. So yeah, it's kind of, on paper, it's really colorful, so that's probably why I put it 6th. But yeah, I like it, but I also understand what you guys were saying. Like, I understand. I also don't like Mantine. Hakamo, Torracat are obviously not really Pokemon. Fortress is okay, but yeah, I can understand everything you guys are talking about. So yeah. All right. I guess let's move on to the next one here. Rank 9th, we have King Farfetch'd and the Sand Hosea Farfetch'd. So we were all kind of around the middle. I put him 11th, so I guess I'll start. Removal is not really reliable. I mean, you have Venomoth, which obviously is a Venomoth. Lurantis is fine, and then Carkol, unless you're running heavy duty boots, but then you don't have a Violet, it's gonna be taking a lot from rocks and hazards, so not the best there. Also, the speed gap from 120 to 90 is insane. A base 100 can outspeed most of your team, which is not the best. Yes, there are webs, but then you're relying too much on webs, and I think that's just too much for it. And also, the special attackers are lacking. There are pretty much none. Those were my gripes with it, and yeah.
Right, my brother, I will hit you up with the best Registeel sets you'll ever see in your life. Do not worry. I've got you. But yeah, my points would be the bug types are really bugging me, but
Oh my god.
you know, I've got to respect the hustle, the fact that you've brought these Pokemon, and especially Registeel. I've just grown an immense amount of respect for you.
Yo, what about the pivot game? There's a lot of pivot on this team.
Okay, so there's one pivoter with Tyrantrum. Tyrantrum loves having things to pivot into it because Bandit has 0 switch-ins in the whole format, but you have nothing to switch it in. You have very good hazards in terms of quantity, not really quality. I don't know. Tyrantrum doesn't really want to set rocks, so Registeel is going to be forced into that role most weeks. But you have no knockoff users, so people are just going to spam boots versus you, and your rocks aren't really going to have much of an impact. Lurantis, I believe, is his only knockoff user, so that's going to barely ever see games. I don't like Grimmsnarl as a pick in general because there's a dumb complex on it, so it just can't use Light Screen. Or, well, it can use Light Screen, but it can't use Light Clay. So it just hinders its ability to support more. I do like the setup spam thing you got going here, but I just don't like how everything is forced into a setup role because you don't have a lot of pivots to get in, like banned scarf breakers and whatnot. So you're just going to be setting up sacking Mon, setting up sacking another Mon, just to get in more things. Which, I mean, I like that playstyle, but I don't think it's very practical.
No, the thing is that every Mon is forced into a role and one role alone, which, or maybe two, right? And so that, like, I think there are certain, you can have a few Mons that are dedicated one role, because they that's like their best set. But I think having some flexibility is what makes a draft team good, and that it forces prep and the consideration of multiple sets. Well as if you're basically bringing the same sets every week, someone can look at that and really start to optimize their team to take advantage of that and squash those strategies you have. I can also really appreciate the defensive Ditto pick, since Ditto is probably the best counter to your team with all the setup sweepers. So that's kind of cool and interesting. But I just like there's definitely way too much investment in setup sweepers. Again, Registeel and Tyrantrum are two Pokemon that can 1v1 most things in the meta. So I mean those picks alone are what put this team not in last. But and Venomoth too. Definitely don't sleep on that as a setup sweeper. But just all of them fitting that role is not ideal, and you just can't get any of them in. And none of these Pokemon are that bulky. I think with the right play style, it could put in a lot of work, but it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of smart EVing and prep. And I think that it's going to require a lot more work than some other teams are going to necessarily require.
All right, I think we hit everything. Let's go on to the next one here, which is rank 8th. Is Ryan's team, or Ryan? I don't know. And the Gucci Gangsters. Okay. So, man, Marshy
Move on to
with the
the monster.
crazy. Yeah, what? Fourth?
This team is so good. Slowking is definitely one of the best ones in the format. Toxicity as well. I know EXO is very biased against Toxicity, but Slowking just supports Toxicity so well. With absolutely shredding any ground type that wants to check Toxicity. Shredding the steel type so it can like spam Boom Burst. Moltres helps with that too. I think this team just has excellent synergy with one another. It has decent enough hazards. Um, with Stunfisk being the only rocker, or Stunfisk Galler being the only rocker, is not amazing, but just not. And T-Spike's Weezing can really carry the hazard game. He has really good defoggers, and he has a lot of pivot to just spam around. Region Slowking is extremely good with pivot teams, and Toxicity alone just loves having things to bring it in. And Teleon has the same thing too.
I have a lot that I would fix with this team. I think it's gonna maybe struggle with something like Specs Porygon. That was like, I could see maybe like getting rid of Cutiefly and Stunfisk for maybe like a slightly better Steel type, or maybe a Steel and a Rock type. Just something to kind of give it better coverage for stuff like that, and even like an Obstagoon. I mean, Weezing Galars are pretty good. Obstagoon switch, but it's definitely not going to be around forever as well. Um, but the team definitely has great synergy. It looks a lot of fun. And I'm a huge Chestnut fan. It's a great spiker. It's got good offenses, good defenses. So this team definitely is going to put in a lot of work. I put it middle of the pack for a good reason. I think it's pretty solid.
Okay, I wanna touch again on the defensive side of things, specifically the Porygon Z example. I think he has a lot of options, mainly with Slowking and Weezing in combination, just to check physical and special attackers, just in general. Because Slowking excels at special bulk and Weezing excels in physical. Even if it doesn't resist the attack, it's still taking minimal damage, and Slowking especially is able to just regen that back off. Something like AV Slowking is going to eat any kind of special hit that you're going to give to it, and Weezing Galar doesn't die to any physical attacker. So I think they work very well together, which is why I ranked it a lot higher than anyone else. I think, going back to what I said earlier, it has really, really good synergy, like the whole team together.
I just think that. I just think there's way too much pressure on Stunfisk to do a lot. Like, it's obviously the only normal resist. It is one of the only rock resists, this Chestnut, yeah. So I missed that while looking at it the first time, but there is also no ghost resist. There's just a lot of things that I'm pretty sure another what was I gonna say, like another steel type could fix, because like I feel like Stunfisk just is in this, okay, you need to be a rocker, but you also need to take special hits, but you also need to take normal and rock hits also, and you also need to not die. So I just think there's a lot of pressure onto the Stunfisk, and I think it could mostly do a lot of that, but then I also looked at, and I know this is dumb, but I looked at the 4 times weaknesses, rock and ground, and flying, and another rock. Like, when you have 2 4 times weak mons to rock, and then your only rock resist, well, no, sorry, not only, but Chestnut and Stunfisk, it's definitely, it puts a lot of pressure onto the team to, or at least Chestnut, to just be the rock resist. And I don't know, I feel like it has potential. I just think that it might fall flat.
I think on the defensive side of things, he just has so many mods that can just blanket check a lot of offensive threats. And back to the ghost resist thing, the no normal, no dark type. Chestnut beats like any ghost type with bulletproof, unless you're running like Willow Hex stuff, and people don't often run that unless. The only mon I could see like being problematic for this team in terms of like ghost types is like a Rotom, um, like a sub Willow Hex type thing. I don't know. I think Slowking Chestnut, Wheezing Galar, defensive core. It's very hard to stop, but it's very easy to. Um, I can see it falling, but I think it's going to be very hard to break.
Alright, that's fair. Alright. As we move on to the next one, ranked 7th, we have Monkey Boys and the Bermuda Weasels. So, man, another one. Alright, you know what? Marshy, start with this one as well.
Dude, this team is so good. It's so good. Okay. I do not like Umbreon. That's one thing I'll say. I don't think Umbreon goes very well on this team. No, I won't say it doesn't go very well. I think it fits on this team, but I do not like it personally, which is my only bias against this team. But Kobala and Noivern is a really, really nice offensive core, just paired with each other, since Noivern hates any kind of steel type. Cobalion absolutely shreds them. He also has like Donphan, Rotom, and Centiskorch to take on steel types. I think he did really well with his low tier picks because Drampa is such a monster. I guess it can take the same role as Noivern, but it takes a more offensive role as a dragon type, while Noivern can be like a fast, bulky U-turn taunt mon. Umbreon is really nice for wish passing into Cobalion, Donphan, whatever. Azumarill, I went and looked at the draft board. Azumarill is only 8 points, I believe, and it checks so many of like the high tier mons up there. It can check things like Arcanine, Celebi. Like it can quote unquote check Manaphy, for Alligator, and like the list goes on. It is such a great budget bulk pick. I don't know. I think the team just synergizes very well together, and you got a really nice selection of very viable mons. I think all 9 mons can definitely see multiple games. Yeah, I really don't have anything bad to say about it other than my own personal biases.
My concern was that I think a lot of the power is coming from some of the slower mons. And I mean, Cobalion and Noivern are great pivots, and same with Rotom. Like, so I think that you will you will be able to get them in. I worry that maybe that's something that could be easily predicted, kind of something that's anticipated, which would maybe like allow like the opponent to see that coming and maybe stay in and not be forced to switch out, unlike something like Cobalion and Noivern. Think anticipating the Drampa or the Centiskorch switch. You know. Definitely, that comes down to play style. I think the team otherwise is pretty well built. I did rank it pretty low. I forget why. Oh, I guess just Rotom being the only flying resist was my only concern. But they do have Donphan as a defensive option, and Umbreon doesn't, resists every type, including fighting and bug and all the other types it's supposedly weak to. So
think
it's not a
the
bad team.
physical part is a bit meh, but yeah, probably rank it a bit low as well.
I looked at, yeah, I mean, a lot of what you guys said. Let me see, is there anything you guys didn't talk about? I did mention there's no spiker or T-spiker, but it's not a big issue. The speed gap between 65 and 91 could be big, especially because there's a lot of mons 65 and below. I think you guys already mentioned that there's no fast, there's not a lot of like fast breakers, so that could be an issue. Yeah, you guys kind of mentioned everything else, but I kind of regret putting it 8th. It could be like a little higher. I don't know about first, but I could definitely see all 9 of these mons coming, like Marshy said, to multiple games. So it's not a bad thing. I kind of don't count Azumarill as a Pokemon, but I guess from 11th to 8th, I think, or 11 to 8 points, I think 8 is a lot better for it. So it's definitely better. Um, yeah, it's not a bad team. Pivot's kind of lacking, but everything else seems good. And yeah, you guys kind of mentioned everything else.
Why does a Sumeru look like a blue Kinder egg?
Yeah, it is.
Sorry.
Dude, Azumarill was so cute. Okay, one last thing. I think
Yeah.
people end up discrediting Trick Room. Like, I know Trick Room is, like, usually seen as, like, an unviable, like, shitter strategy. But, like, G-Bro, with, like, Nasty Plot Life Orb, whatever, can really abuse Trick Room, to break down teams. Because I know people were saying, like, the team, struggles with, like, offensive breakers, and fast breakers. But, like, with Trick Room, it's going all out the window with the speed thing. I think Cobalion also gets discredited with like Sword Stance sets, Calm Mind sets. I don't know. Setup breakers are not bad. He also has other like more niche options, Specs Noivern, Banded Dawn Fan, Specs or Scarf Rotom. I don't know. I think the team is very, very good. Well put together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Rotom. That's just you're asking a lot out of it.
Alright, let's go on to the next one here. 6th, we have Tox's team, the Pallet Town Plagues. And this team, alright. This team's a little bit better. Everyone kind of is around the mid to lower end, so that's fine. That's fine. Board, do you wanna start with this one?
I can't really think right now. What was oh shit, what was I thinking when I ranked this? So first of all, pretty ground weak-ish. I mean, not really. Magnezone, Arcanine being the big three, and then being weak to ground as well could pose an issue, but you will face that many challenges coming from that. Other than that, I really like the water, grass, and fire core in Arcanine, Vaporeon, and Rotom. I think it provides a lot of support for the team. You can pivot into Regidragon with Magnezone, Arcanine, Rotom. Even Vaporeon gets fucking flip turn, so perspective on this team at least.
Okay. Let's see. There's one rocker being Mudbray. That's kind of an issue, considering it's a Mudbray. But it's also pretty fighting weak. Yeah, I mean it's a Rabombi, but it's also a Rabombi, and yeah, there's a coughing. I understand the mascot pick. You know, it's a solid. Was it 1-pointer? I guess. Still, don't think you're bringing it to a lot of games. Also feel like this team has a lot of like the 6-mon syndrome, where you're gonna pick your top 6 and you're gonna probably use those and only those, which kind of makes it easy to predict what you're bringing. Sometimes it's not an issue, but when you have something like a Regidrago, it's like kind of easy to prep for. And yeah, I think that's what happens when you have 6 Pokemon that are over like 15 or over points, for point values. Like you're gonna have 6 mons that are really good, and then the rest are like they could come sometimes, maybe, probably not, but they'll maybe come.
I just feel like you could have diversified Liepard and Persian. I mean, any prankster strategies are nice. Like, so Liepard is definitely pretty good, but I don't think Persian adds a lot to the team, other than a speed tier. And I think maybe condensing Persian and Mudbray for a more consistent rocker would definitely make this team a lot better. Obviously keeping the coughing because that's a requirement for the team. But yeah, I think those two picks could be condensed. I definitely prefer Leopard over Persian, but I mean the top six are definitely solid. I mean just because they're high point value mons and they provide good pivot around to get Reggie Draco in. But that's all I really have to add.
Okay, so I really dislike this whole gimmick he has with this team. I wouldn't say gimmick, but like it's very clear support for Reggie Drago to come in and click buttons. But I don't think that Magnezone plus Arcanine is reliable enough to kill, or reliable enough as a core to kill every fairy type, to kill every steel type in every single game to let Reggie Drago sweep. I think Rotomo and Rabombi also make you suffer a lot more versus those steel types. I think Vaporeon doesn't really give you that much on this team other than a click turn spammer. I think the top three alone they're decent. Okay, they're decent. I think everything below the top three should be like changed around heavily because he blew so many points on Modem Vaporeon Rabombi to where he was forced into a 6-mon draft. Whenever with this type of thing with Reggie Drago, you want people to not be able to know exactly what you're going to bring every week. But with this type thing, every week you're going to see like whatever Magnezone, Specs Magnezone, Boots Arcanine, whatever Reggie Drago, Scarf Modem is basically needed. It's going to be like Sash Webs Rabombi, and then it's going to be like Fat Flip Turn Vaporeon. Every single week, he's basically forced to bring the exact same thing because he has little to no variety in his team. And in the decent mons that he has, those mons don't even have variety in themselves. So I think it's just gonna be very easy to prep for, and I definitely think I rated this too high. Even at 9th, I think this team is very, very poor.
Okay, well, we all know that Tox is a cat person, so that's fine, it is what it is. You're just, you don't like dogs, I guess? Oh no, you have a dog too, so what the heck? What do you know what, forget it. Alright, anyways.
There's a whole zoo in here.
You like lawnmowers, I guess, too. I don't know. Anyways, it's a goddamn horse. Let's go on to, fifth rank. We have Heroes team, the Wishmakers. So, looking at the ranks, I wish Flintloose was still here. They are not. So, but the rest of us are literally like the same. I guess I ranked the highest, so I'll go first real quick. Pretty ground weak. Why'd I write that? Let me see. Ground weak. Yeah, I mean it's kind of ground weak. I mean Heracross is there, Braviar is there, Rotom Heat technically is there, I guess. Huh. Okay, maybe I should reset. The speed is nice. However, none of the strong mons have a lot of speed. So, oh yeah, right, yeah. Okay. That's why I read. Yeah, because like Heracross, Kingler, even like Guzzlord hits hard, but like they're too slow. Even Rotom Heat, like a lot of them are slow. A lot of the support mons like a Frostlass and Meowstic they're fast, but they don't do much for your team. You're not going to be bringing them a lot of the time, or at least not for breaking, so or sweeping. So it's not that good. Also, your removal doesn't usually want to run removal. Rotom Heat and Braviar usually want to be. They usually want to hit hard. They usually don't want to be supportive. So I think the roles are a little. I feel like they're like reversed in this situation where your removers and your stuff like that want to be in the speed, and faster, whereas your fast mons are supportive and they probably want hazard removal, but they don't have it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the speed's too much of an issue. They do have like 4 really good scarf users in the top 3 plus Braviary. Um, but yeah, I guess like I was concerned, with the speed coming from these more supportive mons. Um, and yeah, I think like I don't know if Rotom necessarily needs to be offensive all the time, but it definitely still struggles with four move syndrome. Same with Braviary. So fitting Defog on there is gonna hurt your prep because you're gonna want Rotom and Braviary to do things other than Defog. But if you don't respect the fact that you don't have a good Defog option, you're probably gonna struggle. So, but other than that, I don't really have much else to add.
All right, so I think I overestimated this team a bit. I think I didn't take enough time to look over this team because after looking at it now, I do not think this team is fifth unless every other team that I put below it just happens to be significantly worse. But the reason I put this team at fifth was because Rotom Heat plus Heracross is an amazing core. They support each other so well. And this is the first team in the whole league that I've actually seen use Rotom Heat effectively as a 20-point mon. But yeah, Heracross is definitely one of the most threatening breakers in the game, one of those threatening scarfers in the game, cleaners, whatever you want to use it for. It is an extremely powerful Pokemon, and Rotom Heat just supports it so well. But I think I definitely tunnel visioned on those two mons as a core. I think literally everything under Roserade is not a great Pokemon. Quagsire as your water type is not great. You definitely overspent your budget on too many mons instead of getting less, more quality mons. You definitely could have done better than a Probopass and a Kingler. I think you blew your budget on a lot of really bad or borderline unusable Pokemon instead of getting a couple good mons. It just doesn't look like a very threatening team outside of the top two, maybe the top three.
Mhm. All these teams with spike spam and no rapid spinner really hurts me. It really makes me sad.
Yeah, that too. You're just gonna defog your own spikes away, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I would definitely bump them a little lower than I voted. I was really excited about those top 4, and you definitely like. I mean, Quag is definitely not a water type that you want to have be your only water type. I mean, I think you could have picked something a little better than Kingler to support it, but I don't hate it. And I just think Probopass and Ferroseed could have been condensed to be a better steal.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Let's move on. We have fourth place. We have Uwu. Oh man, Star Maiden's team. Okay. All right. So, let's start. All right. You know what, Chris? Do you want to start with this one since you ranked them first?
Okay, definitely some favoritism here. I absolutely love Obstagoon and Minior. I think a lot of people aren't gonna really give Minior the respect it deserves. Its ability is definitely underrepresented and probably not well explained. Like not being able to be status while it's in its shields down form, then be able to get that shell smash up, maybe take a hit, and then eventually get into that. It's very good with the support of things like Klefki and Illumise and Levani. I think you're going to be able to really put Minior and Obstagoon in great offensive positions. Plus things like Gligar and even Monferno to kind of help pivot as well. Um, I'm a big fan of this type of build, the Obstagoon plus Klefki screens, and then like Magic, and then Espeon as well too, being a pretty decent fast breaker. Um, there's just a lot of Pokemon that I really like on this team, and putting them together, they fit pretty well together. There are a few weaknesses that kind of stood out to me, but I mean, I think this is just like one of the most fun teams I've seen drafted, and I think I'd have a lot of fun using it. But there's definitely some questionable picks like Jellicent. It just doesn't fit on the team.
Alright, so I'm not the biggest fan of this team at all. Even though I put it sixth, I'm looking down on my list. I think every team is that I put below is definitely worse than this. But I don't like how the sole breaker on this team is Obstagoon. I don't think Espeon's a very good breaker, if it is a breaker at all. Um, but you have Obstagoon as your only breaker on this team, and then Espeon and Minior are your only real setup threats, unless you count like Calm Mind, Iron Defense, Klefki, or something. I don't know. I think it's very hard for him to find a win con with this team. I don't think he's done a very good job of figuring out a way to win games offensively, other than just like trashing on teams with like a Scarf Obsidian or something. I think Minior is going to have to be forced to come to a lot of games, more so, or more than it actually wants to. Espeon as well. I don't think Espeon's a terrible mon. I just don't think it's the most reliable. I like Jodigan as a pick. I don't like Jellicent because it's going to kill your momentum that you're trying to feed the rest of the team with. One of the best pivots in the game in Obstagoon, and then Gligar also spamming pivot to get an Obstagoon, but Jellicent kills it. And your lower tier picks also kill momentum. Muckley, Vanny, Klefki kills it too. I don't know. That's just not great.
All right. Well, let's see. I wrote down that its team is pretty slow overall. Minior, outside of it being below 50%, doesn't really count most of the time. So really, you're looking at Espeon being 110, and then it goes below 100 for everything else, which could pose as an issue. That means that you need to run Scarf on a lot of these Pokemon most of the time. Like even Scarf Monferno could come to some games because of just the speed that this team is lacking. Also, it's pretty weak to Ghost and Rock. Yes, you have an Obstagoon that can take Ghost moves, but like, what else can really take a Ghost? Like a Chandelure or like a Miss Magius or anything like that that can kind of just hit hard. It's not much. Nothing's really scary physically, offensively, but we already talked about that. And besides Obstagoon, yeah, I think Obstagoon kind of has to put in most of the work, and that's a problem because, like, I understand that there's a lot like Prankster Mons is Klefki is a great screen setter for this team for Minior and Obstagoon, but other than those three, a lot of these Mons are like passive, and that's not good for a team that wants to like help out Obstagoon and Minior, like to try to get them in. You want more what am I trying to say? You guys don't know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah. I don't know if there's a single Pokemon except for like Espeon that has either a high attack stat or high special attack stat. And Obstagoon hits people all the day, and everything else just kind of supports it. So if you remove Obstagoon from this team, what does it become? You need options. Like, what if someone brings Mach Punch, fucking priority fighting move, and just gets rid of Obstagoon? This solidly built around this Pokemon, not having a lot of options aside from it, really restricts the team building aspect, I would say. But
Yeah.
it is fairly strong otherwise.
Yep, completely agree with that. All right, let's go on to the third place team. We have Freolix's team and the Ariana's Altarias. Oh god, it's like a tongue twister. All right, So most of us put third and fourth. Footloose is not here, so cannot talk about the team. But yeah, we're all kind of around the same page. So does anyone feel strongly about the team and wants to talk first?
I think it did a really good job at supporting Mimikyu as a centerpiece of the team. Incineroar, Flygon, and Lantern even, Hitmontop, all really helped break down any kind of steel type that's gonna try to check Mimikyu. Incineroar gives you a really fat Ghost Resist, gives you a pivot to bring in like Banded Mimikyu, Banded Durant. I don't know. You have really good pivots just all around. Flygon, Lantern, Xatu with Teleport. Um, you have really nice offense. Mimikyu, Durant, Lycanroc is even usable. Rosella is a very nice budget spike mon. The only visible problem I see with this team is the fact that Lycanroc is your only rocker, and Rosella is your only other form of hazards outside of it. So you're gonna be seeing people just not running like boots versus you at all. So they're gonna be free to run like other items. You can see like maybe like a Specs Moltres or something that you would normally see on flyers and fires that would want to run boots.
Okay. Um, kind of hit everything. The one other thing would be like the ground. I wrote like stuff like Piloswine could just run through this team. Anything with ground and ice coverage is extremely scary. Um, and team's average speed is a little low. Uh, it's a little low, honestly. It's usually nice to have something base 115 or 130. It's a little harder in low tier to get that, but um, with a team like this, I guess it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. And also, uh, I wrote down no strong special attacker, but you know, we're gonna talk about that. So yeah, other than that, that's all that I have.
I don't have much to add. I mean, it's a pretty good like bulky offense. I thought maybe they could have maybe they could have added a better wish passer, but I think teleport is pretty good support for this team. But yeah, I think it's good. It's solid.
Okay, all right. I guess we go on to the next one then. Which
Oh boy.
oh yeah, okay. It's gonna be
Oh boy.
Alpha's team. Copenhagen Rajas. So so we got a first and we got an 11. So you know what? I want to hear from Board. Board, how do you feel about this team?
Yes. I just love the wide variety of this team and how there's so many niche Pokemon that come in. Like all of these Pokemon can come into certain games and they feel threatening. The down parts are that there's no pivot support for not a lot of pivot support for Zygarde. You got Jolteon, Feeble from what I'm seeing, but I just really like the offensive options and what this team can bring to the table. When I look at this team and I look at every single other roster, I just think it has a nice build, and even with its weaknesses, it can build around it, and that's my argument for putting it first. I'm looking forward to what Marcy has to say.
Yeah, man. I think what you said is fine, but if you're picking Zygarde 10 as your round one pick, one of the most threatening choice band users um, in the format, you always want to draft pivot spam around it because it is so frail. It can never get itself in for free because it can't take hits on its own. Your only pivot mons, or your only real pivot mons, I should say, are Jolteon and Thievul, which neither of them are going to see too many games, if any at all. You have also paired Zygarde 10 with a bunch of other very frail offensive mons that also can't switch in without pivot, like Toxicroak, like Delphox, Jolteon. I think you're going to be forced into bringing offensive sets on your defensive mons, like a Life Orb Shaman is going to have to be forced to run to break things efficiently while also being able to take hits. Swords Dance, Empoleon, whatever. Or you're just gonna have to run a ton of defensive mons and just sack them off, or run like things like eject button and kill your item basically, just to be able to get in your threats. I also don't think your low tier picks are great. Everything below Miltank kind of sucks. I don't think Jolteon, Thievul, Shedinja, or Cramorant are good mons at all. I guess Jolteon as like a revenge killer can be used. I think Alcremie is just a very mid fairy type. Just set up sweeper bot. That's all it really seems to be. I don't know. The team just has a lot of I don't know how to put it. It does not have a lot of synergy with each other. You pick some okay mons and put them on a team together, but you don't really have ways to make those mons work.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, I kind of regret putting it second, like so high at least. I think it could have been a few points lower, but I definitely agree with both sides here. Like, man, I think it's just the colors. I looked at it, my eyes were like, yes, and then you just have to put it high, man. I don't know. No, I think it's pretty ground weak. Cramorant isn't really a ground switching, and then like Shaman's the only one, so okay, that might be an issue because ground hits hard. But let's see, what else did I put? I said it has a low amount of pivot, but we already went over that. And then I said, other than that, it's a good team. It's really not a bad team, but like Marcy said, it's a lot of mid Pokemon on a team, so it's not crazy. But I guess in Lairon, everything being mid is good enough to be high? I don't know.
You guys should have seen the Cramorant game, by the way. He used Throat Chop, or not Toxicity, however you pronounce it. And he couldn't use the
Oh,
burst, like boom burst and shit.
wait, did that happen already? Was that a game that happened?
Yeah, it happened. Look in Lairon replays.
Shit. Okay, I need to watch that. That sounds awesome. All right. Another reason why toxicity sucks. No. Okay. Anyways, let's go on to the next one, which is the last one. We all knew that this was coming because we all put them extremely high, and it's gonna be Flintless team. Well, starting off, I mean, there's nothing that goes wrong with this team. The only thing that I said was, I guess, wrong was that the team is a little water weak, but other than that, nothing really is bad. Obviously, the reason why I said water weak, Serena's the only mon that can take a water hit, and then if it hits Ice Beam, it could be a problem, but yeah, like a Specs water abuser could be annoying. But honestly, other than that, this team is really good. I did help out with the 2-point Delibird pick. I said, hey, in case you want spikes, grab Delibird. It also has some shenanigans like Destiny Bond that could be really good. But yeah, I think this team is really solid. There's nothing that I can say besides what I already said, the water thing, and then also pivot is a little low. But other than that, everything seems really solid here.
I think you could do a little bit more and hype up Delibird. I mean, Rapid Spin, Defog, Hustle Ice Shard, Freeze Dry.
Well, listen, we could have a whole debate on that. All right.
Very high. I've used it before in low tier, and I actually brought it to like most games. It's more just for the affinity I have for it, but it's definitely really good. Um, Zong and Slurpuff, like I'm a big fan of those two mons, and I think together they synergize really well. Porygon Z is amazing. I mean, this team maybe could have benefited a little bit more from some momentum mons to get Porygon in, but Serena and Swampert are still like really decent. Talonflame is too, just kind of takes away a move though, so um, it's hard to pick apart this team other than the water ice weakness. It looks really fun. I think he's going to do really well.
It doesn't help that a lot of water Pokemon get like ice coverage as well. Ice beam, so this
You know,
happens.
for the water types, I think the biggest thing with this team is the fact that the mons that are going to be switching into water types are just going to get scald burned and then they deal 0 damage to the water types. So you're going to be relying on Porygon Z to break through any kind of bulky water and just hope that they can't kill you first. Because if your Porygon Z goes down, your breaking power is significantly worse if Serena gets burned.
Yep.
I also think that well, I didn't put this first. One, because I think the other team that I put first is just better, and then two, because I have my own like personal biases against some of these ones. I don't think Slurpuff is great. I don't think Bronzong's great. I don't think Drapion's great. I think Delibird's funny, and but yeah, it's a solid team. If I do not look at my own personal biases.
That's fair.
Okay, and that's that's about it. The Aggron and the Aeron divisions will be done probably this weekend. That's just when we have, well, at least when I have time. I don't know about everyone else, but we'll try to get maybe some different people in, or maybe the same and more people. Who knows? But yeah, guys, that is it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, I guess we will see you guys next time.
Peace out. Adios.
Bye.
I use Volt Switch.